night or stopped off at a party along the way. Though Jimmy had no shortage of sexual partners of either sex, it's clear that he spent his final night alone.
I don't think he really understood sex at all. I'm Leonard Rosenman. I was a friend of Jimmy Dean, and I wrote the music for his two first films, East of Eden and Rebel Without a Cause. Every girlfriend he had, he wouldn't really even go out with her unless he brought her to my house with my first wife and so on, and at a dinner. He would ask the next day, well, what do you think? Oh, she's nice, she's terrific. Then he'd go out with her.
My name is Tasha Martell. At the time that I first met Jimmy Dean, my name was Arlene Greta Sachs. I was 15. I was a teenager, and he was an older man. I entered into the relationship as a very innocent girl. I really was a virgin, and he obviously was not. And I was dazed, and of course he was very amazed because I was, in fact, a woman of my word. I was a virgin, and he was very surprised because I believe he had women throwing themselves at him who had a much experience.
Many men also found Jimmy sexually attractive, and he was not above using sex to get his own way. He told Hollywood gossip columnist Hedda Hopper that he avoided being drafted to Korea by telling the Army he was homosexual.
I think Jimmy had just a little overly healthy spewing of female characteristics. That alone doesn't make a person a homosexual, you know. I'm Mila Nurmi. In 1954, when I met Jimmy, I was known as Vampira. I was a local television horror host. Jimmy and I were playmates. We had similar senses of humor. We spent a lot of time together from midnight to 5 a.m. most nights. And I was also a West Coast mother figure to him. Jimmy had a lot of rejection from women in the little while that I knew him. First, Pier Angeli turned her back and married the other, and then Ursula dumped him. And then in New York there had been a girl, which I didn't know about, who had apparently dumped him at that time.
He was an experimenter. In the name of acting alone, he was able to hide behind the excuse that an actor needs, as Stanislavski put it, to experience everything. So that he may have or did dabble in almost everything is a probability rather than a possibility.
Somebody asked him if he was a homosexual, and it is true. He did say, do I look like somebody who would go through life with his hands tied behind his back? So he admitted that he had experimented with bisexuality.
What his actual bents were, I don't like to speculate on. I can only speak from a personal point of view. And I do know that he did have extensive experiences on both sides of the fence.
My name is Dizzy Sheridan. I was Jimmy Dean's girlfriend and lover and friend. I don't think he thought very much about the difference between bedding down with a male or a female. I don't think sex was all that important to him, as it was not a drive, you know? He was not sex-driven, as some people would like to think.
Alone in his one-room rented apartment in Sherman Oaks, a quiet suburb of Los Angeles, he was awakened early by his landlord, who'd been instructed to make sure Jimmy wouldn't be late for the race. By 8:30, he was on his way downtown to collect his racing car from the garage. It was almost 10:30 when photographer Sanford Roth and racing driver Bill Hickman met up with Jimmy at the Porsche garage of Competition Motors. Here they found German mechanic Rolf Wertherich making final adjustments to the car. Jimmy's car, a 1955 Porsche Spyder 550, was only a week old. The 1500cc engine needed fine-tuning if it was to reach its full racing speed.
Jimmy phoned me first and asked me if I would like to go, and I said I had some work to do. He tried to persuade me, and then he said, well, if you really change your mind, come down to the garage and we'll go, you can drive with Sandy. Sandy Roth was going in a station wagon that followed the car, and he would be driving in the Porsche with his mechanic.
My name is George Barris from Barris Custom Industries in North Hollywood, California, USA, and I customized the Porsche Spyder that James Dean was killed in, and we painted on the back Little Bastard, and he wanted Little Bastard on the back of it because he was considered a person that was not with the establishment, and he wanted it to be known and on his car, so when drivers come up behind him, they all knew he was a little bastard.
James Dean, Hollywood's newest rebel, was ready to race, and to hell with the consequences.
James Dean didn't have in his vocabulary what flirt with danger was. When the word danger came up, he was standing full on, facing it, shoulders square, and looking it straight in the eye. I'm Monty Roberts, and James Dean was killed coming to my house in Salinas, California.
He said, well, I want to conquer death. And I said, well, you can't conquer death. Nobody can conquer death. And I said, well, I have a feeling that unconsciously you want to die.
Take it easy driving. The life you might save might be mine.
By midday, mechanic Rolf Wertherick had finished tuning James Dean's new racing Porsche Spyder 550. Jimmy had less than 6 hours to live.
The last time that I saw Jimmy, we sat in a cab and we hugged and we held hands